Welcome to the Prospective Doctor Podcast, brought to you by Med School Coach. Pre-med and medical students alike are encouraged to tune in each week for tips on how to become a strong med school candidate, gain acceptance into the school of your dreams, and succeed on your journey toward residency and becoming a doctor.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to have our special guest this week, Dr. Amita Kumar. I'm just going to give her an opportunity to tell us a little bit about herself and her journey to medicine.
All right. Hi, Erkeda. Thank you so much for having me today. I am a primary care physician. I am internal medicine board certified, and my journey to medicine is not a straight line, as probably most of you can say. I actually grew up in a small town in Canada. My grandfather was my original inspiration. He was probably the most humble person I've ever met. He was a great neurosurgeon and a pioneer in his field of pain management and deep brain stimulation. He really wanted me to be a surgeon, but started thinking about work-life balance, eventually pursued internal medicine. At that time, when I was young, he told me that, I was destined to be a doctor and I was destined for greatness, basically, to make a change in our community. There were plenty of bumps along the way, and I really did question my ambitions at that time, but I kept going because honestly, I had no plan B. I was going to be a doctor no matter what way or scenic route I had to take. I went to undergrad at McGill in Montreal, and then I went to medical school in Dublin, Ireland. I didn't even finish my undergrad. I was very impatient, and I would love to tell you that it was a well thought out, calculated decision, but really it was a move of desperation and impatience. Thankfully, it worked out. My friend went there. He said it was great. I applied. I got in. I went. I didn't even really know where Ireland was.
Wow.
It was, at the time, felt like the biggest risk that I was ever going to take. But it was probably the greatest move I ever made. I met my husband there and I learned a different way of life. I was really perplexed by the fact that you could buy fresh groceries at the local convenience store, and also by the fact that everything closed by 5 p.m. except the bar. I was very disappointed that our medical school library was closed on Sundays, but I also learned that maybe it's okay to take Sunday off. So eventually, I went to residency in Kentucky, and now I live in Texas. At that time, I had to Google Kentucky. I really had no idea where Kentucky was. I was Canadian, remember? Okay, I didn't learn U.S. geography. But again, best thing that ever happened to us. We had our kids there. I started my first practice there, and we learned how to save money, spend money, and invest money. And that's basically where I'm at. In primary care, I've been in primary care for more than 10 years. I've officially recertified, so that will age me a little. And I am a very strong believer in primary care.
That's an awesome story. It's so wonderful that you had your inspiration from your grandfather, and then you took that leap and even left undergrad early and went to Ireland and started this new crazy journey to medicine. And as you mentioned, you're a primary care physician, and a lot of students out there are either considering entering medicine, period, by being pre-med students, or are already in medical school and trying to figure out what specialty they would like to pursue. What inspired you to become an internal medicine physician?
That's a great question. So I think living in Canada and living in Ireland really opened my eyes to primary care in general. So, in Canada and in Ireland, the GP is what they call it, is the front line for everything. You have to go to your GP, and everybody has a GP. It's really quite different than it has been in the history of the US medical system. And I just was amazed by the amount of trust and appreciation, I guess, that patients have for their GP. And honestly, their GP knows them best. At one point, it even cost patients. So in Ireland, There's a private and a public health system. And the public health system, if you go to your GP and your GP gives you a note saying that this is an urgent situation and you should go to the ER, there is no copay. But if you don't get a note from your GP and you show up at the ER, there's a €300 copay. So I think that's kind of a good system, and maybe we should learn something from that. At least check in with the doctor that knows you best.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you. I don't think I did, but I'm also a primary care physician. I'm family medicine. So that would save a lot of healthcare dollars.
Yeah, and unnecessary repeat testing, probably. We know our patients best. We know, and we can see them next day in the morning. And I think that we have lost a little bit of that, like, my GP knows me better than anyone else, and I trust them implicitly. Hopefully we're coming back to that a little bit, Medicare Advantage and the HMO plans and the patient, centered homes and things like that. But I think that just knowing that I'm the gatekeeper and that I'm looking at the whole person, and, you can't keep someone's no hard feelings to any cardiologist, but, I can keep your heart pumping and pumping and pumping, but like the rest of you has to work too. No point keeping your heart pumping if you're orthostatic all the time. So that's my job. That's our job as primary care doctors, to make sure that one thing doesn't cause another thing and to manage the whole being.
I love that. As you know, and all of the students listening as well, like, they teach us a lot of things in medical school. But when we become attendings, there are some real life things that are a little bit different. What are some things that you wish that they taught in medical school?
So 2 things. Work-life balance, number 1. And probably some how to spend your money and not spend your money classes would be somewhat helpful.
I think those are both great topics, because I know a lot of my guests have been kind of talking about work-life balance, and the audience may think that I'm kind of just beating a dead horse with it, but it's so important for longevity. And there are a lot of different ways that you can put yourself first in order to help contribute both to society and ways of being a medical professional, as well as your family and things like that. You have to have that self-care and that balance. And then, of course, financially, there are a lot of different things that affect whether or not you get loans, or you need to figure out ways to invest your money. As physicians, there are so many different things we could learn about running a practice or running a business that can be definitely helpful in the future.
Yeah, totally agree. I happened to work part-time. When we moved to Texas, I went part-time because my husband is a surgeon. And I thought, well, my kids are pretty young. One of us needs to be a parent. So I never thought I would stay part-time. I always, I went from 80 hours a week or 100 hours a week to 40 hours a week to now I work 20 hours a week. I was like, what was I going to do with all that other time? But let me tell you, I am a way better physician because I work part-time. I am a better physician. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mom because I have some balance. Now, I would love to tell you I'm balanced. Okay. And I think that's a constant struggle daily. And there will be, constant life pulls in all the directions, and patients and work and staff and all those things. But maintaining it at the front of my thoughts for the day and having that intention every day of maintaining balance helps to keep us a little grounded. Otherwise, it gets away from us and we get burnt out and we get upset at the people we love the most. And it's better if we can proactively intend to be balanced instead of retroactively.
I couldn't agree more. And as you kind of alluded to, it's important to have passions outside of medicine. What is something that you're passionate about?
Oh, well, besides the obvious. So as you can probably tell in my voice, I'm pretty passionate about healthcare in our country. But of course, that's medicine. Outside of medicine, definitely love traveling. I've really missed it this last year and a half. And seeing the world, I think that we can learn a lot from each other. And sometimes we get stuck in our ways because we think that this is the way it is. So this must be the best way. But just learning about the way other people live, other cultures can really open our eyes and help bring better compassionate care, but also some worthiness to our society community.
Absolutely. If there was one thing that you would change about the US healthcare system, what would it be? Especially since you've explored Canada and Ireland, you've kind of seen different systems at play.
One thing. So it's not going to be one thing. I think it all plays. I think it all plays into each other. So I think that if we could all see that we can do better, and we have good healthcare, but we could be better. We don't have to have instant gratification. There is some amount of societal change, I think, that has to be made in order to have a change in healthcare. I think a big problem is that we want a pill to fix stuff and not enough lifestyle changes and not enough lifestyle medicine. So probably more, or go back to our training that we actually had in medical school in a lot of ways and have the time to do those things. So probably increasing reimbursements would help some of that, but also just knowing that although we have a great country and a great system, I'll say good system, it can be a lot better. And if we take better care of our providers and our doctors and our healers, then we can do a better job taking care of our patients and our country and our society.
I have nothing to add to that. That would be a magical world. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Let's see. So there's a couple things. One is, I think in order to experience life, we have to know that it's going to be 50-50. I just recently heard that. And we need to expect to have 50% negative and 50% positive. Feeling sadness is not a bad thing. Feeling anger when something makes you angry is not a bad thing. If we didn't grieve, we would be not human. We must experience life and we must experience being human. The other thing is in medicine is that the more I experience life, the better doctor I become. The more, roles I take as mom, daughter, wife, sister, that makes me a better doctor. And, the longer I talk to my patients, the more I listen to my patients more like it, the more I understand about others and the better doctor I am. So probably the best pieces of advice come from my patients. If you listen long enough, they have all the answers.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Listening is so important. It was so lovely for you to come and share your words of wisdom with our audience. If students were to have any questions, how could they reach out to you?
Email probably is best. It's just Amita_Kumar at hotmail.com. Yes, I still have Hotmail. So that's fine. I should probably get a real email address.
I hear there's this thing called Gmail out there.
Yeah, I heard that. I haven't converted completely yet.
Yes. So it was awesome to have you here. I'll just give you an opportunity to tell everyone goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. It was really an opportunity to be here. Hopefully you learned a little something, and please, reach out. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. So, you never know who you're going to bump into.
Perfect. And for all you listeners out there, thanks for listening. Please click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you again next week.
Each episode of the Prospective Doctor podcast is brought to you by Med School Coach. To access articles, videos, webinars, and free tools to help you succeed on your journey toward medical school and beyond, visit our website, prospectivedoctor.com. We hope you tune in again next time.